What's up, boys? So Overwatch 2 recently had Season 6 come out, and we've all seen Season 6. We've all seen the reception to Season 6. For the most part, it's been pretty much mixed. Like, the new hero is fun, Flashpoint is whatever, some people will defend it. I think most of us will realize it's going to be like push, and we're all going to get sick and tired of it after a few months. And the PvE, the biggest part of this update, and the reason why they poured so much money into so many horrible advertisements for this game, has actually got a better reception than what most of us thought it was going to get. Because at the end of the day, is the PvE horrible? Not really, because from what everyone else is saying and from what I have seen, I did not pay for the story mission at all. I'm not paying for that. It's a pretty decent story, and the cinematics are obviously Blizzard quality. But the real reason why everyone is actually mad about the PvE isn't because of the story being bad or just all around a bad business practice of charging for the story missions that were supposed to be included in a box price of the game. I want my $60 back. The real reason why a lot of people are actually mad about the PvE campaign is because it's not what Blizzard's actually known for. Very stale, linear campaigns. Usually there's something replayable about the games. Either there's some kind of loot that you want to get that's way better than the loot you have now, or there's a skill tree, or there's a combination of loot and skill trees. And it's kind of weird how Overwatch has these beautiful cinematics that are up to the standards and qualities of most of, if not all of, Blizzard's other games, but somehow the gameplay is lacking in not only features but also just personality alone. The Overwatch 2's campaign feels like it probably was made within the year that they knew that they had to turn this whole ship around and that they weren't going to be shipping a full campaign experience with the whole skill trees and everything else that Jeff Kaplan said that was going to be in the game. And not only just what Jeff Kaplan was going to say would be in the game, it's missing just that spark of creativity that most Blizzard games had back in the day. I don't even know why I even said back in the day, because we act like Diablo 4 didn't just come out, and even though Season 1 is pretty lackluster, it's lackluster because the game is complete. If you play Diablo 4, you play through the whole game, which is the opposite of what Overwatch is giving us after working on the game for a pretty considerable amount of time, because Diablo 4 took them 6 years also to make, so I don't understand why they couldn't make a couple of levels at least. They didn't have to make a whole open world like how Jeff Kaplan wanted for it. I'm pretty sure he was going to do an Overwatch 3, which if they did do Overwatch the way that they did Diablo and just allowed the game to rise up and die each time, because honestly that's how a lot of these games go for Blizzard, I'm pretty sure Overwatch would have did gangbuster numbers, especially whenever it first came out. But none of us knew Overwatch 2 was being worked on for a hot minute, and then the content just slowed down after a while, and Blizzard never said, hey, we're gonna slow down the content for a while and then we're gonna bring out a brand new game, or they're gonna be like, hey, Overwatch 1 is now a complete game, Overwatch 2 is being worked on. That would make a lot of sense to us. We would actually understand that. And we would also understand that there's no more content coming to Overwatch for a little while. Just like a lot of their other games in their catalogs, Blizzard is known for making sequels of games. Really good sequels of games. StarCraft 1, StarCraft 2, also an amazing game. Warcraft, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3 really kind of changed up the whole gaming landscape itself. And then they came out with World of Warcraft, which, if you guys don't know, was essentially what Overwatch was supposed to be. World of Warcraft, but first person. But in Jeff Kaplan's mind at the time, he was like, we'll start on one game, we'll build off of that game into another game, then we'll build off of that game into another game, and then we'll continue building off of those games into another game. They were supposed to let Overwatch 1 die, Overwatch 2 comes out, it's supposed to be better. Overwatch 2 dies, Overwatch 3 comes out, it's even better. It's essentially like how Diablo, Warcraft, and all their other Blizzard IP have been going for years, and how they have been making billions of dollars. It is a proven track record that Blizzard has seen and shown time and time again. But Overwatch wasn't marketed as one of those kind of games. Overwatch was marketed as a live service game, which there's nothing wrong with trying to keep up a live service game, but we all know why Overwatch 2 sucks. Somehow the multi-billionaire Bobby Kotick, who stole and slashed his way to the top, is somehow the loser in his friend group because he doesn't have a sports league like everyone else does. And he wanted Overwatch 2 to be that sports league. So the money that would have went into Overwatch 2 and, future Overwatch games went into the Overwatch League. None of us watched the Overwatch League. Let's all be honest here, none of us cared about that. Not that we don't care about esports, it was more or less there wasn't enough people that actually cared about Overwatch League for the amount of money that they were putting into to what it was. Then on top of the merchandise not really selling all that well at all, but that really shouldn't matter, seeing that most esports teams start off very small and very poor, and they rise their way up through the ranks by playing the actual esports. But whenever you put a $35 million paywall just so people can play the game on a stage, it's kind of ridiculous. It makes it even harder for any of those teams to recoup those losses. I feel as if the Overwatch League was more of a, we're the biggest thing out here now, and they wanted to bring in like NBA numbers, even though they don't have an NBA number level of viewership, that they probably easily could have grown if they actually put all their money into marketing the actual Overwatch League and allowing grassroots companies or just grassroots content creators to make their own tournaments for the Overwatch League. If you guys don't know, people will easily come to grassroots tournaments instead of these big stadiums that don't even get filled half the time for some of these esports. I'm like, CSGO didn't start off as a giant esport. It literally slowly built itself up over 20 years of people just going to their local place, playing some tournaments, going around the country, playing some more tournaments. People realize, oh man, this is actually kind of cool to watch these people play a game that also doesn't change every 6 months. That is a whole nother thing about Overwatch. The only way this esports could have grown is if the player base grew. But guess what didn't grow at all whenever they came out with Overwatch 2 and whenever they stopped updating Overwatch 1? The player base. Because the only people that know what's going on in the game are us. It's really hard to tell people, hey, come watch this esports of Overwatch with me. Or hey, come watch this esports of League of Legends with me. Most people don't know what's going on in the game. The reason why people like football, basketball, soccer, it is a very one-dimensional sport. They need to get the ball to the other side. And then people are able to slowly build up their knowledge of these sports over time and see like, oh, they did this tactic, and oh, they did that tactic, while still knowing, yo, I saw this team put this ball into that goal. I think that's cool. Overwatch is way too complex for that, and there's also way too many new heroes that come out way too often for anyone to actually know, again, what's going on in the game if they don't participate in playing it. You can never have touched a sport in your life and still know what's going on whenever you go to a sporting event. And you know what is a perfect esports for this analogy? CSGO, a game that never changes. I could easily sit someone down that never has watched any sport in their life and show them CSGO and tell them this team needs to get over here and plant this so they can win. And as the person continues to watch the esports of CSGO, they'll slowly realize, okay, if they plant the bomb, they get more money. If they don't plant the bomb, they don't get as much money. If they get a kill with certain weapons, they'll get even more money or even less money if they die without killing anyone. And they don't have to worry about, oh, will I even know what's going on in 6 months or a year or 2 years from now? Because you will. The game doesn't change. Even if they add in a new map, guess what? It's like going to a new court. You understand the game completely. It's just a new court. And it's pretty easy to see that Bobby Kotick has no idea what he's doing as CEO. He basically lucked out in life. Let's all be honest here. Because he took a very successful game and franchise, brand new franchise that Blizzard made, and tried to copy the formula of actual real esports that actually makes sense as an esports. I'm sorry, but let's all be honest here. Hero shooters cannot be esports. It's too complex. You need to know way too much. No one can just turn on the TV, see an esports, and be like, oh man, Buck just shot out the floor and shot Ella in the head. No one's doing that if they're just a regular Joe Schmo turning on ESPN. And for some reason, Bobby Kotick thought those were the people who wanted to watch an esports. The people who barely know what's going on in gaming in general. If it's not clear already, this guy should have never been in the position of power he is at a gaming company. Maybe at like a hedge fund or something. Maybe he would be doing good there because then, you know, just throwing money at problems is the whole point of the job. But not in gaming, because in gaming, we're a pretty self-aware crowd. We pretty much know whenever a company's trying to like rip our wallets out of our pockets, especially if you're a deep, actual, passionate gamer and not just a person playing Call of Duty every year. Oh, I picked up the new NBA because, you know, I like sports, or oh, I picked up the new Madden. I like football, because that's the crowd that Bobby thought was going to actually watch this esports. The crowd that only plays Call of Duty, NBA, Madden, those people. Those are the people Bobby thought was actually gonna pick up this game and play it after seeing the esports, which is an idiotic thing. There's a complete difference between an actual gamer and a casual gamer that's just, playing for fun. He doesn't really care about the game itself. It could die tomorrow and he'd be like, yeah, whatever, I had my $60 worth of fun. For most gamers, you don't want $60 worth of fun. You want a lifetime worth of fun. Something that you can always hark back on and think about, oh man, that was a cool game. Let me go play that again. And it's so weird how he tasked Blizzard and not Activision to make a new esports game. Not only does Activision have a pretty decent track record with esports in general, the CDL, Call of Duty League, they also make one of the biggest esports games. I don't know about you, but I would probably task the company that is known for making a semi-decent esports with making an esports style game. A game that is specifically made for esports. I don't know about you, but it just baffles me to see this bumbling buffoon just waste billions of dollars on something that we all knew wasn't gonna work. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And now Overwatch 2 has to suffer because of this guy's ego. But since the Overwatch League is actually offering teams $6 million to get out of their contracts, not as much as the $35 million they had to spend or be in debt into the company for. But they offered them enough money to get out of the contracts. Something tells me that Overwatch League is gonna be dead within the next year. And hopefully that money will be saved and put back into Overwatch 2. And people will be able to actually see what Overwatch 2 was supposed to be in the next probably 3 to 4 years, because we lost that time that was supposed to be spent on developing the actual game that people wanted. And who knows, in a decade, all of us will be having children that will be excited for Overwatch 4, who never knew Overwatch 1 or 2 existed, and we can all harp on this like, oh, remember that time whenever that idiot spent billions of dollars and 4 to 6 years of actual development time on a dying esports? Oh man, that was stupid of him. Thank God they took him out of his position of CEO of Activision Blizzard. Please, Microsoft, get rid of this man. But at this point, there's no reason to harp on the past. I am a pretty much die-hard Overwatch fan. I love this game, even though it's not in the place where I would like it to be, and where a lot of people would like it to be at this point, because at one point it was the biggest game out, and now it's a laughingstock. I'm hoping that they pull a Halo Infinite and become an actual decent game, because if you guys don't know, a lot of people are getting back into Halo Infinite because the updates are becoming really good. The people that were making the game trash left the company or got fired because, again, the game was so bad. But only time will tell. Hopefully they don't even stop at Overwatch 2. I hope that Overwatch 2 dies and they bring out Overwatch 3 within the next 5-6 years, where they actually realize the actual purpose of the game, to tell a well-crafted story as Blizzard does, while also putting in cool game features and mechanics that the player base actually wants and likes. In my opinion, I really think that they should stop the live service for Overwatch in general, because it is killing the game altogether. They have to pump out so much content so fast to where they can't even finish the actual parts of the games that we want and that they want, because I would assume anyone that works at Blizzard is probably a story-focused person, people that are really into their craft. It's not like you go over to Activision, you go over there, you make a couple skins, then you move on to another company. It's like you go to Blizzard, you're like, oh man, I want to create something that will last a lifetime, that will actually impact people, and that will define a generation of people who have never even heard of Blizzard or any of their games, because Overwatch was my first Blizzard game. It was a lot of my friends' first Blizzard game, and whenever we played it, we're like, oh man, this is cool, we should go back and play some of their other games. And a lot of their other games were really good, and it's so sad to see where Blizzard's at right now. But boys, this video is getting too long. Hopefully you all understand that I'm not really mad at Overwatch or Overwatch 2 or even the devs of Overwatch. We all know why we're mad. The money that was supposed to be put in for Overwatch 2 was wasted on the Overwatch League. But now it seems like the Overwatch League is about to get sunset, so hopefully we can just look at this as a bad memory and the franchise of Overwatch will actually become an actual good game again, instead of the microtransaction hell that we're in right now. But boys, when it comes down to gaming, there's plenty of fishes in the sea. If you don't feel like Overwatch or any other game you're playing right now is making you satisfied, try out any indie game. Trust me, there's something out there for you. But if you guys didn't know, Overwatch 2's troubles aren't over yet. Now they're just scamming people. Click on this video to find out how.